Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, here we go. We are holding like 15 lines from the bottom, let's say. Umay Tanoi. So we had a brisa and we had a steer in the brisa. On the one hand, it seems like we could do a little Chazarah here. So we know that there are two things that were constants. There's the day of the Misa, there's the day of the Kibura. The day of the death and the day of the burial. The two different things, they don't have to be in the same day. The day of the Misa, the Torah says a person is an oinein. There is no question that it's a doiraisa, that a person has to act in a certain type of aninos. You don't make brachas, you eat food without a bracha, you don't put on tefillin, many other things. Can't eat kachim. What about the night? So that we had a machloikis. It's either like the day, that it's a doiraisa, or it steps down one madrega, it's a derabbanan. The day of the kvura, according to everybody, if it's the next day, the day after, 7 weeks later, the day of the kvura, according to everybody, there's aninos, but only midrabbanan. What about the night? The night is either exactly like the day, that it's derabbanan, or it drops down one level and it's 0. But we have a contradiction in the brisa. It seems like we're talking about the day of the kvura, the night following the kvura. Is it a problem to eat Pesach? Not a problem. So, is there aninos that night or not? So Rav Chizah comes along and says, you know what? It's a machlokes tanoi. It's not a contradiction. It's a machlokes tanoi. Umay tanoi, the sanyan mosai misoinin olav. Till when does it one mourn? Kol hayoim. To me, kol hayoim means kol hayoim and not laila. That's the Tanakama. You don't mourn at night. Rabbi Omer calls man shaloi nikbar. As long as he's not buried, and if you bury him, it seems like, and we're going to go into it, if you bury him, then from that moment of burial, even if it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, from that moment on, there's no more aninos. It seems like Rebbe is being more makel. So the Gemara goes through step by step. But what in the world are we talking about? If we're talking about the day of the death, so let's look at this chart again before we read this line. The day of the death, the Yom Misa. Everybody holds that during the day, doiraisa. What about the night? It's either like the day, a doiraisa, or at least it steps down one measure, it's a derabbanan. No one says that it's nothing. It's at least a derabbanan. So ask the Gemara, Mi'ikid the Leslie the Yomisa the toughest leilim the rabbanan. Is there anybody that says it's worse than the rabbanan? That's less than the rabbanan? It's at least you have to at least keep the aninos at night midrabbanan, maybe even the raisa, but not less than the rabbanan. So how would both of them say that you have to be an oinen until the night, and past the night you don't have to be an oinen? Like nobody, whether it's the Tanakama, Rebbe even says just up to the burial, and past the burial, nothing. And the Tanakama says up till Shkia, and past Shkia, nothing. Who holds that? It's not in this chart, at least. So Rebbe says that it's up until the burial. But, and we're talking about the day of the death, not the day of the burial. But if you bury him, it becomes mutter right away. Wait a minute. It seems like from the pasuk v'achrisa kiyoy mar, the entire day is mar, it's bitter. Nobody holds that it's up until the burial. Oh, Rav Sheshes ayoyim kvurakai. We're talking about that the burial was on a different day than the death. And Memela, we're talking about a machloikis on the day of the burial. We're not. We just had to prove we're not talking about the day of the misa. So we're talking about the day of the burial. And what's a machloikis? According to the Tanakama, the day of the burial will go. The aninos last all the way up to the night, and therefore you can't put on tefillin after the burial. There's people that don't put on tefillin the day of the after the kvura. No, and there's people I'll never forget. My friend's father's levaya, very traumatic experience for me as a teenager. Going there, and right after the levaya, they brought tefillin and they had to wrap tefillin real quickly right before shkia. That would be going according to Rebbe. The Rebbe says it's up until the Kvura, and it past the Kvura, you're not a Noinan anymore. Masker Rabbi Yosef, yesterday we learned that there's 4 categories. This is the day of the death, the day of the Kvura, then there's the day of the rumor that somebody heard that his father is nifter, and the least of everything is the day that they gather the bones. So it says that when you hear about the maze, it's like the least on the list. It's not so severe. It's like kimalaket atzamais. So what do? What does it mean? Toivel, you go into the mikvah, that you heard about it at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock you're ready in the mikvah. V'oichel b'kachim l'erev, and you could eat kachim that evening. So the one who hears is not like one who buried his father. It's like one who buried bones of his father. Michlal, so you can make a very simple diuk. Michlal the yom kvura afilu l'erev nami lo yachil. How come it doesn't say, oh, Shemal Mesai is like the Yom Kvura? I'll tell you why, because Yom Kvura you cannot eat kachim at night. It's only Malaket Atzamis, which is on the bottom of the list, you can eat kachim at night. But the day of the burial, you can't eat. But the problem is, if you can't eat at night, Homani. We never saw Shita like that yet. Tanakama says up until Shkia. Rebbe says up until the burial. But past Shkia, nobody holds you can't eat kachim. And now we're telling us that past Shkia you can't eat. This is like a third shita. Elatar, it's at Mosai Misoinin of Kol Oisayoim Veleiloi. So you got to stick in a little. Rav Yosef says that you have to stick in a word to make this work, and it's tough to do. It doesn't say night. It says Kol Oisayoim, and everybody understands Yoim means day. When there's light outside, when it's dark, you don't have. No, I'm going to stick in the word night. And the Gemara doesn't like it at all, but he has no choice. He says, oh, it means also the night. You have to do aninus at night. Rebbe Yomer kolzman shalei nikbar aval nikbar beloy leiloi. And so the Tanakama goes day and night, like a 24-hour thing, let's say. And Rebbe says no, up until Shkia. So like we're changing the shittas over here. Everything is moving. Until now, Tanakama says up until Shkia, Rebbe says until the Kivura, and now they both move up a step. Rebbe says up until the night, like we said before Tanakama, and the Tanakama who said up until the night, they really say including the night, because we just stuck in another word. Amru Kamei the Rabbi Yirmiyah, so they say this over to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Omar, Gavra Rabbak Rabbi Yosef Leima Hachi. How could such a great individual like Rabbi Yosef say something like this? It's interesting that in this Masechta, 60 days ago approximately, we learned mamish these words in Daf Mendalad. Birmia says about Rabbi Yosef, how could such a great person say something so whatever off and on a completely different sugya? So you're telling me Leiba the Rebbe Lekula, so you'd say Rebbe is the one who's Mekel, but Tanya, Rebbe says only until the night. And Chacham say, no, it's including the night. So Rebbe is more Mekel. But Tanya, Muslim is in Olav. When does Aninos last? Calls man sheini nikbar. As long as he's not buried on the cruise ship, there's Aninos. Afil mekam ba'asar yomim. Even 10 days later, Divrei Rebbe. So Rebbe is the machmir. Rebbe says even 10 days. We're saying that Rebbe is the mekel, that it's only until the night. And Chacham say it goes through the night. That they're machmir. Over it's the opposite. Chacham are saying it's 1 day, and Rebbe is the one that says 10 days. So says Rabbi Yirmiyah, I don't like Rabbi Yosef Pshat. Ad Mosai U'Misoyin Olav Kolei Sayoim Beloy Leila. Then he knows is that whole day, says the Tanakama, without the night. Like we said before. Rebbe Yoim calls man shalei nikbar. V'im nikbar toifes leiloi. He says it goes until. But if there's kvura, if there's a burial, then it's even the night. Oh, so that's what. Now we're going full circle. Reb Chizda says you should know that there's machlokes tanoim whether oinen goes into the night or not. That's the machlokes. And here it is, Rebbe and Chachamim, whether or not the day of the kvura does it grab the night. Rebbe says yes, Chachamim say no. Amru Kamei the Rava. But the Kama Rebbe, so we can do the math by ourselves. Look for a second. Oinen in the day of the kvura is the Rabbanon. The Rabbanan, according to everybody, what's the night? It's either the Rabbanan, the same as the day, or nothing. So now let's take that logic and go to the day of the death. The day of the death. It's a deraisa. So what's the night? So it depends. If you hold that the day of the Kvura is the Rabbanan, everybody holds the Rabbanan, but the night is the Rabbanan, meaning the night has to mimic the day. Night is like day. So if you hold that, you hold the day of the Kvura, the night is like the day, and Mela Aninos is the Rabbanan, not nothing, it's the Rabbanan. So what are you going to hold by the day of the Misa? That the night is the deraisa. Wait a minute. If Rebbe, you just said hold that the night of the Kvura, it still grabs and you have to do Aninus at night, then in other words, the night mimics the day. So by the day of the death, also the night should mimic the day. Oh, but the problem is, does he really hold that? Oh, so this is our Agadta for today. It's basically the entire day. This is the whole daf talks about this. What happened? So real quickly, a lot of psukim here, we're not going to read them all, but a very interesting parsha in the Torah. This is the day, the final day of the Miluim. We know Nadav and Avihu were consumed by fire. And that day on Miluim, there was at least 3 Seirim. One was the Rosh Chodesh one in the middle, one was for the 8 days of Miluim, and one was for the Nasi. Every day. That day was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the final day, the inauguration of the Mishkan. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu was upset. So why did they take the Rosh Chodesh meat, the chatos they get to eat, and instead put it on the fire? What's going on here? Why did you put it on the fire? So look at these psukim, incredible stuff, and we're going to be talking about all these words here, the back and forth conversation. That's today's daf. What happened there? It's a hard parsha to understand. Vayiktzov, the second line from the top. Vayiktzov v'alazar v'alisamar. He's upset. Bnei Aaron, the Hanisarim, the leftover sons, 2 out of 4. Madua lo yichadim esachados. How come you didn't eat the chatos? And he says, "B'makom hakodesh, ki kodesh kodashim." It's in the place of kachim. So we're going to say in the place. In other words, you didn't take it out. Here, l'chaper aleim. We're going to use that also because if you remember from here, the Rosh Chodesh comes to be mechaper on Klal Yisrael. We're going to talk about that. You didn't even bring the blood inside, and blood inside the heichal ruins a carbon, but you didn't do that. So what's your excuse of burning the meat? The Kitzer v'yidaber Ariel al Moshe, and he tells him, "Hein hayom ikivus chatasam v'zilasam v'dekreno oisi ke'ela." 3 lines from the bottom. Look at I had aninos today. V'dekreno oisi ke'ela. V'chad chatas hayoim hayita b'nei Hashem, and all of a sudden pasuk chaf v'yishma Moshe v'yita b'nov. You're right. You're 100% right. Backs down. What happened there? So that's today's sugya. So first of all, hey nayoim. This gets us into the sugya. Hey nayoim. These today, ani hayoim osur v'layla muter. Me, Aaron HaKohen, today in the daytime it's osur v'layla, but after shkia muter. Well, the doira is bein b'yoim or bein b'layla osur, but in the future, it's always going to be asur to eat this carbon. Divri Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Omer, but Rebbe argues. Rebbe is Omer. Aninus Laila Einam Divri Torah Elam Divri Soifrim. And then he comes and says that night is only midrabanan. Akol Panim Ba'ifin. You see, Mefurish Rebbe says it's only the Rabbanan at night, and you're telling me that according to Rebbe, our Svara told us, logic tells us that according to Rebbe, it should be a deraisa mimics the day. Rabbanon do a gzeira the night like the day, it should be the same. And over here he says no, it's only the Rabbanon. Says Gemara Leilam, the Rabbanon, according to Rebbe, you're right. The night is only the Rabbanon. And Chachamim said that there's aninus at night. Sometimes Chachamim make their gzeira even stronger than the Torah. Rabbanon. So here goes the sugya. It says the lashon of tzivui. I was commanded Kichein tzuvesi, kasher tzivesi, kasher tziva Hashem. Real quickly, we don't need to see the whole thing, but in addition to the Rish Chodesh that we're talking about, we're not even talking about the other one so much. Yeah, we will talk a little bit. But there was a mincha given, and there was shlamim. So, it says by mincha, look over here, chuas ha-mincha, and then it says all the way in the bottom, kichein tzuvesi. It also says, I wanted you to eat this thing, even though you're an oinen. I commanded you, Aaron. And then all the way at the end it says, kasher tziva Hashem. So the Gemara explains all the Lashonis. Kichein tzuvesi, ba'aninu tzichlu. I wanted you to eat them karba mincha, the first pasuk that I showed you, when you're in oinen. Kasher tzuvesi b'shas ma'isor melem. He said it when there was a problem of the Misa of Nadav Avihu. He was at Oinen. Shas Maisa, as he was Oinen. I said, Kasher Tziveh, not before. I said, I knew you're an Oinen, I want you to eat it. Kasher Tziveh Hashem, what does it mean? Hashem commanded. I'm not making this up for my own. Virimini. As the Gemara, I have a contradiction. Mipnei Aninus Nisrfa. You burned it because of the Aninus. L'kach Nemar Ko'ela. Because of the Aninus. But we said a second ago that an Oinen is chayiv to eat. What do you mean? You burnt it because you're Oinen. Because you're Oinen, you don't have to eat it. No, Oinen does have to eat it. Okay, so now we're going to deal with Reb Nechemia a lot. Reb Nechemia says that it's also for Oinen to eat, and Reb Yehuda says it's mutter for Oinen to eat. The Sanya, Reb Nechemia says that Oinen does not eat a carbon. Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, Tuman is Surfa. No, Oinen does eat. So why did Aaron HaKohen burn it? Because it touched a dead mouse, let's say. There was a certain tumah that came in b'shoigig, and they had to burn it. Nothing to do with the aninus. Shemata oimer b'nei aninus nisrfa. Oh, and here he asks him 3 questions, and the Gemara is going to address these 3 questions on Amud Beis. So let's remember. Here are the 3 simple questions. I'll prove to you that there's not a problem with aninus. Why? If it's aninus, look at these 3 guys. Why did they eat 2 out of 3? Why did they burn 1 out of 3? What's going on there? If he's a Oinen, burn them all. Oh, so one got Tameh. 1. That explains why 1 is different than all 3. The Rish Chodesh one got Tameh. Dovar Acher. Another question. Let's say he's a Oinen. According to Rish Shimon, Oinen eats at night. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a special heter to eat at night. So just wait until the night and eat it. Another question. What are you telling me? That he's the only Oinen around? Give it to Pinchas. What? Another Venaviu were Pinchas's nephews. Huh? Yeah, uncle, sorry. He was their nephew. Rav Omar, Idi Reb Nechemia. So Rabbi says no, it could go according to Reb Nechemia, no contradiction. That Reb Nechemia says it's also for a 9 and teeth. This is a special inauguration, korbanos. Never happened again that we have these korbanos. So okay, it will matter. But later on, the other with mashma, you can eat at night. That's for future generations. Oinen doesn't eat at night. Reb Nechemia, and now we go into like mamish fast stuff, just the back and forth. And what's interesting, it's like a freebie because a lot of it is going to be repeated word for word. I'll show you where it's different. But just the back and forth is also very simple. What's going on in the psukim? How does each one explain the psukim? Rosh Rabbeinu asked him, how come you didn't eat the Rish Chodesh carbon? Let me help you out. You know, it says in the pasuk over here. We had a sugi about this. If you bring a carbon in Rish Chodesh, where do you shecht it? Where do you do all the avodah? Inside the heichal or outside? B'chutz, outside. It's a regular, it's a chatos. So if you take the blood and bring it into the heichal, into the mishkan, into the heichal, it makes the whole carbon possible. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, I'll give you some excuses here. I'll give you some reasons why you burnt it. Maybe you brought it all the way inside. And Aaron answers him back. This whole conversation we're going to have again. Mamish word for word. No, that is not the issue. I did not bring it in. Maybe you went outside of the borders of the Mishkan. Maybe it's chutz. It becomes puzzle when it goes outside. No, it's inside. Maybe you're oinen when you were makriv and you puzzled. You think my children were makriv? Ani crafty. What does that mean, ani crafty? I'm a kohen gadol. I'm allowed to be makriv baninos. So Moshe tells him, hey, leuva is dama. Okay, we went through that problem. That wasn't a problem. Uba kodesh hoysa, we went through that problem. How come you didn't eat it when you're an oinen? Omar loy. So he says, look what happened to me today. I'm an oinen, I lost my 2 children. Maybe what you heard is on the animals, the korbanos that come today only, once in a lifetime. But if you're talking about the carbon of Rosh Chodesh that we're talking about, I have a very simple kavachomer. This is logic. The famous pasuk of Meiser Sheni, you take the fruit and you give yourself, but you have to make sure that on what years? On the year after the 3rd year and the year after the 6th year. In other words, the 4th and the 7th year, you have to be mevar everything. You have to get rid of the house. You have to say vidui. I didn't eat it when I was a oinen. So you can eat meiser akal. It's a low level gedusha. A Yisrael eats meiser sheni in Yerushalayim. But when a person is a oinen, when a kohen is a oinen, a person he can't eat from it. Any person, because yidoris like kochkin. So certainly a chatos, when a person is oinen, cannot eat from it. Miyad vayishma Moshe v'yita beinov. Moshe accepted it and he liked it. Hoida, he admitted to him v'loy boish Moshe loymer loy shamati. He wasn't embarrassed to say, excuses. Like when you're embarrassed, you get caught red-handed that you didn't know halacha. I didn't. No. I heard it and I forgot it. Embarrassing stuff. What's the pshat? Moshe Rabbeinu was honor of Mikol Adam, so what's the big deal? So the biggest honor in the world. He said that. Look at this Targum Yonason, maybe it explains it a little bit. Vayishma Moshe vayita beinav. The Targum Yonason. Ushama Moshe ushvar kadomi kadamai. Moshe heard it and he liked it. Va'api kroiza. He put out a kol koira, pashkevilin. I know this Allah misilchas amini. I'm the one that forgot this halacha. Va'ar nochi itkar yosali. This is a sometimes people say, you're right. You're right is not as strong as I'm wrong. You're right. Okay, you're right. I'm also right. Whatever you think in your head, I'm wrong. I messed up. No. So now we understand how Nehemiah says all the psukim. Now let's do it all over again. This is how they read the psukim. I'm asking you, Moshe Rabbeinu to Ariel and HaKohen, why didn't you eat the chatos? Is it possible that the blood went inside the heichal and that ruined the chatos? It never went inside the heichal. Maybe he took the blood outside of the Mishkan. It was always inside, or maybe they take out the word hein here. I didn't even look, but I'm assuming that they take it out. Okay. It was in the kodesh. Maybe you were makriv the carbon when you were oinen. Amarloi, Moshe, my sons were makriv. The apostle of aninos, ani kraftia amakoin gadol. Don't worry about it. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. Here it changes. V'dilma agav meraychu pashatubu vitmoi. Maybe because you were morer, you were bitzar, and when a person is bitzar, pashatubu vitami. Maybe because of your tsar, you were posheya and you let Tuma touch the carbon. Omeloi, Moshe, really, this is how you think of me? And he says, listen to this lush of the even double up the tsar. 4 children dead. I will never be mevazeh the kodesh shemayim. Omar Loi, so much it does Aaron according to everything is great. But how come you didn't eat what you ate? Omar Loi, oh, Before they said maybe you didn't hear this generation, future generation. Now he's saying maybe you only heard at night. And maybe at night you're allowed to eat, but during the day, let's make a simple kavachayim. You can eat ma'aser sheni, ba'aninos kodesh chomer, so kodesh which is much chomer. Like kosher, certainly you can't eat it when you're a night. You can't eat it. Yad vayishma Moshe liyita beinav dafkuf aleph on the base. Leiboish Moshe loyim l'shamati. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't embarrassed to say I didn't hear. El shamati v'shachachti. They should have waited until the night to eat it, like we asked before. The same question we asked before. Okay, you can't eat it now, so wait until the nighttime. Says Gemara, Tuma ba'oinus basa. There's nothing to do with them. It has to do with the Tuma. It was Tameh, and they can't eat it. The reason why the Torah says, who's Rabbanon? Reb Shimon, Reb Yehuda. It says the day. Why? Because at night it's mutter to eat. According to Reb Nechemia, that at night you cannot eat. Aoinin cannot eat. It goes into the night. Why does the Torah say ayoim? Oh, it's not talking about the person eating, not eating. We're talking about the carbon Rosh Chodesh. That they were makrivid the Rosh Chodesh today, but it was not special for today. Hey nayom, el rabbanon my hey nayom, hachi kamar, hey nekrivu. It's a question. My sons were makriv. Ani krafti. Omar mar. So now we're going back to the three questions that we had before. How come they didn't? You have 3 goats. Burn all 3 or eat all 3. Why did you pick the Rosh Chodesh? My shloshton the sanya ve'isir achadis dorish Moshe seir zu sar nachshon. Just put it up on the screen. Why not? So remember again. The sar is the one of the each nasi had to bring. Chatos zu chadash mini, the 8th day. Darash sar Rosh Chodesh. That's the Rosh Chodesh one. Yachal shlashim nisrafu. Maybe all 3 were burnt at that story. Tamaloyim abinu saraf is singular. 1 out of the 3 is burnt. Echad nisrafu lo shlashim nisrafu. Darash, what's the double lashon? Shtei drishis lama. Amar lo mepnei machad zu nisrafu ve'elu menachos. How come only 1 was burnt and the other one's not? Many days I don't know which one was burnt. This came for the sin of the community. Is this Rosh Chodesh? We know that the Rosh Chodesh. I don't remember we had the whole sugi. I think it was in Shavuos. Yes. Look at all this. Remember the Betchila, Basoif, the whole thing. The Rosh Chodesh. Okay. Rosh Chodesh comes in Chaper on the Voikach, on the Voin of the community. Says the Gemara, Shapir Kamrile, Reb Shimon Yehuda said very good. If it's like you're saying, they're saying that they burnt the carbon because of Tumah, but you say that they burned it because of Aninos. So then all 3 have to be burned. So there's a difference between the Rosh Chodesh that's for generations to come, every single year, every single month you have to bring a carbon Rosh Chodesh. But these were special, the 8th and the Sar Nachshon, no. Omar Mar, you should have eaten at night. Shapir Kamar, it's a great question. Because Aninos Laila Dairaisa. Aninos is Dairaisa, so you can't eat it at night. Dover Acher. You're telling me the only Kahanim around was Pinchas. Dover Acher. Valoi Pinchas Oyimai. Shapir Kamar. So like Rebbe Lazar, the Omer Rebbe Lazar, Omer Rebbe Chanina. Loinis Kain Pinchas. This is what Rebbe Navin said. A bunch of people. Pinchas was not a Kain. He wasn't born a Kain. He became a Kohen at Shahar Rogel Zimri. Look at the psukim here. It says Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen when he killed Zimri. Now, Bekanu is Kenosi, is a Kanoi. It's great for the video. This Kanoim and this Kanoim. This Kanoim. But in my courtroom, Tzaddik, or whatever. Yeah. Hidini Noisin Loi is Brisi Shalom. V'hoisa Loi Ulazaroi Achrav Bris Kuhuna Soilam. Kohen forever. This is what I'm giving him. When? After Pasuk Yud Aleph, when the Torah says he was a Kanoi and he killed him, then he becomes a Kuna Soilon. Rav Ashi Omar, listen to this. Rav Ashi Omar Chesam Sholim ben Ashvatim. Shenemar, yes, you make Shalom. Shenemar ve'yishma Pinchas HaKoyin u'nesiya Eida v'roshi Alfa Yisrael. That, I forgot to tell you the story. Rav Ashi Omar Chesam Sholim ben Ashvatim. Real quickly, there was a fight in Klal Yisrael. Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, who were not in Eretz Yisrael, they built a mizbeach So Klal Yisrael wanted to wipe them out. If you mess up, you build a mizbeach outside of it, wipe them out. So they came. So Pinchas went to see what's going on, and he said, we're doing it on purpose so that future generations know that we're Yidden. They'll never know. They'll be mizboil ben hagoyim. They won't know. They'll remember this, that there was a war, that we put up a mizbeach, shaloik halacha. We did it on purpose against the halacha, and you came to fight us. And Pinchas said, okay, to remember. And he said, okay, we're going to make shalom, peace, and that's Vayishma Pinchas HaKoyin. You see, the Rosh Alf Yisrael, they accepted it, and they made peace. V'dochnami v'oksiv oisel elazari achrov. Kiksiv ahu b'brachu d'chsiv. V'idoch, should I explain, or we got to go? V'dochnami hoksiv Vayishma Pinchas HaKoyin. I'll say it tomorrow. Ahu liyachaz zari achrov Rabboisai. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.